to say straight out.
Now, come on, Maui. What is your bad point?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what made this team so bad, and they obviously, well, just earlier today didn't make it to the major. And I think they're probably of RMRB, Astralis to me is the most obvious team where you look at them and you're like, why is this team not working? Even though the firepower is so good. And I think some people have been kind of like trying to find the one person that's falling off the hardest. So that would probably be Yabby. People are sometimes now blaming BlameF in terms of the fact that, you know, he's not a real in-game leader. And I think like those are kind of the two conflicting points right now for why this team isn't working. And I would have to say it's just a blending of both. I would say that like, and that's what's bad right now. It's that Astralis right now has a Yabby that is not performing like nearly as well as he used to, but he was thrust into different positions. His like CT side spots, he swapped like at least half of them as far as I know. And for the calling, I find that when I'm watching Astralis now, I look back through the tournaments they played, like the Katowice, the play-in, the RMR, and the Blast Spring groups, and this team has just horrible trading percentage every single time. Because I was thinking, I narrowed my scope in the first place to be like, is this just going to be my bad point, just going to be Yabby? And then I actually had to broaden it because I was like, no, this is actually a systemic problem. Everybody on Astralis is taking bad ego duels at periods and times like that they shouldn't be. Like sometimes the way that Astralis is trying to get into bomb sites seems so lackadaisical. Like they might even have the utility necessary to set something up, but instead they just kind of like walk into a fight. And I feel like that's when I have to boil it down to blame F in the calling, because there's no real strong coaching figure behind this team right now. There's this Ronick guy, and I mean, maybe Rejin, you maybe know more than I do about this guy, but in terms of like his experience, there's just nothing that I can really poke at. And so,
by the way, also, let's be real. The other problem the guy has is, bro, you're going to coach Astralis and be called Ronick. You're making the meme like, we want Zonic. Hey, we got Ronick. Oh, I said Zonic. Shit. Oh, we got Ronick. Like, you know what I mean? It's still on the nose, isn't it, guys?
But I think like he got just pushed into it, basically.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think he's ready for it. Like, it's unfair to put anything on that guy at all. Like, I don't know him. I don't know anything about his history, to be honest, and everything.
I'm never pinning the blame of Astralis' failures on Ronick. Like that's don't get me wrong. Yeah, that's not where I'm going with this one. It's just that I think the calling right now has really run its course in terms of blame F as an in-game leader. That's kind of, and I think that Yabby hasn't found his footing either. And you could kind of take either one of those for why this Astralis team has failed in such a catastrophic manner to not even make it through the play-in of Katowice, to not make it through the RMR at all. Like they just lost to 9 Pandas earlier today in a game where, again, some of their T-side calling for blame F was just like, let's just walk out a door late on nuke, like with no supporting utility. Like these aren't really good calls. Like there's no layering of strategy. He's not letting the rounds develop in any meaningful way. It just seems kind of like lazy calling that they're going to brute force themselves through situations, and that may have worked. Honestly, this team might have worked in CS:GO, but in CS2, with these players and kind of, I'm not going to say like everybody's been condensed in terms of mechanical ability, but it's clear that some of the guys on Astralis haven't found their footing mechanically as they had when it was CS:GO. Like Yabby, I can still sometimes expect, I think there's always like per series, Yabby's going to find one Deagle 2K out of nowhere, but it's not like in a rifle situation, I trust him like I used to, where he would just snap 2 people's heads off, transfer to the third guy. Like I'm never seeing those kinds of moments from him.
But like my initial thoughts on this was there's kind of twofolds in it, which I completely with you, Maui, like with the leadership and the whole staff behind Astralis. Of course I don't know, so I might speak out of my ass here. I apologize if I'm completely wrong, but it looks to me there is a clear lack of leadership. There is a clear lack of taking initiative, doing whatever might needed to be done. I think the best example is that why is it Stair going out taking the loser interview? Where is like you have Device, one of the GOATs in CS:GO. You have BlameF, who's the leader. Like, come on, step up, take it to the chin, right? The second part of this is that I haven't deep dived into this, but as I understand and see, I believe that there's a lot of role switch as well. Like where Yabby used to play and where he plays now. Same with Down, where he used to play and where he plays now. And it's weird for me when you bring in, like, you spend that amount of money. Now, I don't know if it's true how much they spent, but at least a lot,
ballpark,
right?
Sure.
Yeah. and then you don't give them their best roles. Like, I mean, like, what are you doing? That is just my opinion of it. I am not saying this could be a situation where Yabi's saying, "Oh, I want to play here," right? This is actually where I prefer to play. Same goes with Down. We don't know that, right? But from an outside perspective, it looked like a lack of leadership and a clash of roles. That's how I see it. And then, like, where's the spirit, guys? Like, you're sitting there, 5 people, and you're like, huh. Right, like, they didn't even want to play. The device out tweeting the day before or 2 days before. It's not fun to play. Like, there's something fundamentally wrong here.
What I would say is this. I'll definitely do a video on this topic. I might do it tomorrow. Obviously, you don't know when this is recorded, so who gives a fuck? Get memed on. But basically, the one thing, here's the thing. One of the things I hate about the Falcons and Astralis topic is people are getting like crazy schadenfreude off it, where they're loving the idea that people have failed, that they think like, you know, don't deserve to succeed or did something wrong, or that it's just funny that like, you know, the scale of them failing in this particular way. The problem I have is you're not even always picking the guys that actually did the shit wrong, though. Like, for example, why would you laugh that Device doesn't qualify? Because then Stown did it. Like, I get if you're a Cadian fan, fuck Stown and Yabi, right? You just think they betrayed me. Yeah, but why would that be cool that, like, Device fails? Like, why would you laugh at that? You know what I mean? Like, what's the connection? Like, at that point, aren't you just a hater? Like, I understand that angle. Here's the one angle I'll join in that, is I'll just say this one thing. If you are Stown and you are Yabi, you just learned today what Cadian did. You didn't know that before, did you? You thought he was making like weird calls, or his ego was too big, or he thought he was trying to control too much. Maybe he was even telling you positions you didn't want to play, or things and maybe it all seemed like it was his ego, right? I'll tell you what, ego was sort of justified, wasn't it, boys? Because I tell you what, you looked fucking amazing when you played with that guy. And when I've seen you without him, not quite the same. So that's one thing I would just say is, you know, grass isn't always greener. In fact, the joke is, I believe this actually is a real phenomenon in real life. I don't know if you noticed about it. I think someone once claimed that saying, even though it's obviously meant to mean like, you know, like sort of understand what you've got yourself, it might not be better over there. I think someone even said it's there might even be like an actual optical thing where it's like based on light and how far your distance is, that grass might appear greener, but the joke is when you get closer, because you'd be from a different perspective, it'll be the same bloody grass, won't it? You'd be like, what the fuck? And then the joke is you'll look back at the other grass and be, wait a minute, that grass back there is looking fucking sick. Now it's like, it's where you're stood right now, you idiot. So the point here, if you're Yabi and Stown, is you just looked over and thought, fuck this heroic team. Let's be real, if you're Stown, because of all this pressure I have to carry, it's like, what if I had Blame F and Device? No pressure then. It'd be rolling. There'd be like 4 of us. We'd all be equally good. We'd all be equally top 20 players. We'd just roll. Who even needs IGL? Fucking Blame can do it. And then the Stair guy, he'll just do whatever shit rolls we want. This is the dream. We're going to be awesome here. And it's the ego of the star player. All star players to some degree have a little bit of that put into them, where the problem they have, like that fan I was talking about earlier, is they know a bit of the game. They know their part and how it interacts with the team, but they don't always know what the IGL's doing at the back, or what the fucking guy on the outskirts who's the lurker's doing, or even what the util guy behind them's doing when he throws them a flash. They just get to, intentionally so, you don't want people to be overburdened with information. They get to live in their own little bubble, and the problem now is they're all in a little bubble, except the Stair guy, who, as far as I can tell, just his job is to fill. There's 4 of them in a bubble, and they're all realising, like, wait a minute, well, I'm not doing it all. So who is doing this? It's like, no one is, bros. You're all just 4 players playing by yourself. Like, there's no cohesion. There's no, like, logic to the team. So I'd very quickly just say the most obvious things this team needs tomorrow is a better IGL, like an actual established one we know works, and then a better coach, someone who, again, who's established, who's done it. The reason why that's not even an unreasonable request is, why the fuck would Astralis not be able to get a great coach? I mean, the joke is, I'll talk about this in my video, they've already fired, like, half the coaches you would fucking hire. They've even fired Hunden, who, by the way, I think would be straight fire with this team. If there's ever a team, that's why I said to get MSL as a ridiculous one. I said that as a fucking stick to beat them with, because I'll tell you one thing MSL will bring you tomorrow: structure. He'll tell you all where you're going to, I'll tell you what, he won't take any guff, because here's the other thing I'm going to say. Knowing star players, I bet I know exactly what happened here, and I'm going to reveal more stuff about NIP right now. It's what apparently happened in NIP. Are you ready? So, you know, in NIP, I said it's sort of like they had 3 players that were the same player. They had Rez, Config, and Brolan. Bro, when you find out what they did, this is absolute fucking ass. They did exactly the worst of all worlds. They didn't say, right, well, what we're going to do is, he's most famous, so like Config gets to be the entry, but like the guy who, after the space creator, like, you're going to make Config the star. No. And they didn't say, right, well, you know, like, we'll just like have a debate and then see like who makes the better point. What they did was pure democracy. They were like, right, well, logically, no one should get fucked all the time, and none of us should get... So they were like, right, on this map, you're this guy there, and then on the other map, he's that, and on CT, you get your side on this first map, but then on the other map, he gets his spots, and that is the worst of all worlds, because not only are you spreading it all out in a way that doesn't make sense, but then you're not even going to have consistency, because the joke is, like, I'm the star on this one map, but then we play the team that vetoes into a map that I'm not on, and suddenly after I'm cooking on map 1, I'm on the fucking outskirts on some shitter roll, holding a flash, while the guy who isn't warmed up at all, he's now in the... Like, you can see how that's terrible. Like, I'm almost certain they've done this in Astralis, bro. It gives it away when you saw that video, that interview with Blame F, where he went out of his way to say that he gave up some of his spots when he became IGL so that he could, like, do whatever was necessary. I think they all did that. I think because they all thought... The joke is we don't even need a convo. We're all star. We're all fucking bangers, mate. All we need to do is play. I think they all naively thought we can just sort of by committee, by democracy, spread it out. And that isn't how Counter-Strike works. It's why actually, I think it was Nero said this. This is like one of those days where if you're someone like me who believes there's roles and there's tendencies and there's certain resources and everyone can't have their role, this is one of the days where you fucking raise your flag and it is glorious. Because essentially on paper, I even did a past point. You remember this, Maui? I think it was only a couple of episodes back. I said one of my really good points is, even though I didn't know how the roles would work, it's mega exciting to see these 4 names together though. You see these 4 names, you're like, fuck, I don't know how, but if you could make it work. And the problem with that is, like, that's exactly the issue. Like, someone said it earlier, it might even have been the Nero guy again. I can't remember who said this first, but when they initially, the rumour came out, Stabby and Stown and Yabby are going to go to Astralis, someone made the point, like, but if you already have Blame F and Device, didn't you get the wrong 2 players? Shouldn't you have gotten like Tessus and Shush? Because the joke is, if you put them in, like, they're already a fucking hard entry and a support. Like, bro, that's the team. But the point is, they didn't get that. They just saw, and the players themselves, like, but I'm the best one in. They didn't get, like, yeah, because you were Blame F and Device in that analogy. You were the one set up to succeed. So I just think they've done it by democracy. I think they fucked up. That's why if you bring in an IGL coach, the job is, I hope they would understand, your job is to fix that or you're fired. So that's why you bring that guy in tomorrow, because people are getting way too caught in the sauce of like, who should I cut and who should be removed. First of all, nobody is benching players that were signed for $1.5 million. You're not going to bench them after 2 tournaments, you idiot. There's not an infinite money. They can't just buy more players. And it's even worse. They've just failed to get the sticker money. There is no fucking millions to buy more players. So that's why, even if it's unfair, people are thinking about cutting the Stair guy. Because the difference is he is at 1.5 million and he hasn't done it yet. So even though I don't think he's to blame, I also think if you're Astralis, you're trying to be number 1 in the world. You're not trying to be who's not the worst player. You're trying to be, what can I do to make the players I have to keep, which I'm sorry, the other 4, what can I do to make them as good as possible? So this is why, even though I don't know that they can ever make the roles work, like if they had taken the other heroic players, I am certain this is not it though. If you get this, and by the way, please don't do this. It's not that this has proven these 4 players can't play together. They don't have a real IGL. They don't have a real coach. As far as I'm concerned, they haven't even started to explore what's possible with these 4 players. If you really could tomorrow bring in fucking 1 million people, if you could bring in Zonic, I mean, the joke is even some of the people they fired might have done the job. Trace, fucking Ave, Rejin's here, loads of people. There's loads of people. Basically, anyone Danish was Rugger. These people all have history, and as long as they were people who had the balls to have this hard conversation, which is probably going to go like this, and you're not going to like it. It might even be like this. Sorry, Stown. Or Blame F, which one? One of you doesn't get it, the other one does. Sorry, Yabby, you have to play. Whatever it is, the point is, this is the part people are missing. You don't have to be the HLTV top 20 player you were in Heroic. All you have to do is be functional. Because the difference is, if you're functional, we can make the other people the top 20 players. And bro, you don't need 4 top 20 players. 2 is enough, like history has shown you. So if you have this team, make it, you pick, maybe it's Stown and Device, maybe it's Blame F. You pick who the players are. It has to be Device, let's be real, because he's the AWPer. But you pick the 2 players, build the rest of the team around them, and it'll work. Like, these players, I refuse to believe these are just morons who can only play one position. Like, it's not American football. You didn't sign 4 wide receivers. You can play a role, like Yabby can play a role that's not quite as good, but it still works. It's just you have to have a system, in my opinion, when you do, especially when you're doing things that aren't your natural role. If you do a different role, you're going to need someone to hold your hand a bit. So I actually hate the way that people are so... To me, we haven't seen many matches of this team. People are acting like it's over already, like it's definitely failed. We must toss it in the bin. Like, no, you can still do things. What do you think, Rich? You can still do something with these 4 players. Come on.
Yeah, I want to touch two things you said. Like one thing is that the two players you decide to buy is Yabi and Stown. Like it's mind blowing to me that you don't pick up Shoes, probably the best anchor and the way he's playing in position alongside with Magisk, right?
Yes.
And Magisk you're not gonna get, right?
Yes.
Tessis does everything for the team, flying around, does whatever he does, like he just do everything for the team. Instead, you take two other players, where one of them is a star player, and Yabi is kind of like in between, right?
Yes. Yes.
And suddenly, like you have this role class, and now I just quickly checked, and it looks to me that Blame F still has all the star positions. Stown has none of it. He has new positions. He's a young guy. Like all these things, like you're saying, they didn't really get a chance to go through.
Yeah.
And I'm disappointed to see that Blame F. This is my take, and this is how I see it outside. I don't have anything to know inside, right? But why don't you, as Blame F, say, Stown, you go do that, and I'm gonna focus on leading the team and everything? Because it's not like Blame F has been like performing, right? Like it's not like it's been like donk or something, right? Like far from. I think Ster is the best player, right, in this tournament. So that means only
statistically, yeah.
Not only do you have an in-game leader who wants to play star position, but is not playing like to up to that. Now you have another star player who doesn't play the star position and plays something like it doesn't make sense in my head what is happening here. But of course, like we don't like this is also looking from an outside perspective. Right? I don't want to step on anyone's toes, right? But it's just what it looks like from the outside. It looks like you just roll some dice, like you say, and be like, "Oh, you got that roll, right?" And I'm gonna stay here, right? Like this like, what position did you give up, bro? Right? Like I don't know. Like, and I don't understand, but I'm 100% sure I'm with you, Thorin, on this one that like they should be able to make this work. But I would probably, for me, I would put down the star position and cut Blame F.
Okay.
And because the thing is, they might lack some time to develop into these new roles. But where is the leadership? Where is the synergy? Where's the enjoyment of playing? Right?
Yes.
Like all these things are not there. And I believe that falls back to the in-game leader to make sure it's there. And if it's not there, it's his responsibility to fix it. Because a coach can only do so much, and at an RMR, you're not allowed to say anything. You have to sit like this. Right? You can't even cheer. You're winning, right? So that is not gonna help you. So you need an in-game leader or a guy to pick up the team when they're down, and that was what Cadian did so freaking well, right? Like it or not, he is good at it, right? And Blame F is
it's even something I'll bet they're also thinking about now, mate. I'll bet. Here's the thing. I've said this story before. It's actually a story I learned this from the player Taz that everyone loves, right? You know, one thing we all love about Taz, he has amazing, like, charisma and presence, right? In his teams, he doesn't like the story, but it's true, mate. And he knows it's true, right? Back in the day, in the legendary Golden Five that was winning all those world championships, the problem is, like Cadian, he didn't just do, like, the baller speech once in a while. He did it every game. And eventually, even his own teammates behind his back would sort of make fun and be like, he's doing one. They would call him the general. They'd be like, he's going to do his movie speech again. And the problem is, if you do it every time, eventually people even think like, what's the point of that? So eventually you get soured on it, right? I'll tell you what, I could easily believe they did that with KD. Remember, the joke is like every fucking last match in every tournament, he was like, guys, the reason I was the sperm that made it into the egg is I knew I was fucking built different. I knew that we were going to like do it this way, and we're going to hold hands and ascend spiritually to the ninth dimension where they can't battle us because they're just heathen. Like, they were just doing all that shit, right? I bet that does get old, especially when you lose the match and you know. But here's the difference. I'll tell you what, at the end of this game, when you all had a face like a slapped arse and you couldn't go and do the interview because you were so ashamed that you sent the young fucking kid out who's like, should be, as Rejin says, in football, he'd still be the fucking rookie, like polishing people's boots. You don't send him to do the interview because you lost the cup final. In that scenario, I bet you wish you had that goofy fucking Cadian guy going, come on, bros, we're going to get him next time. You know what's down? I'll figure it out, mate. It's on me. Hey, guys, like, let's go get together. Heroic on 5. And you know what? I'll go do the interview. That's what you're fucking missing now, isn't it? I tell you what, that'd take a lot of pressure off you. Also, notice there's another thing, Stown. Tell you what, that Cadian fucking amazing at tanking aggro, though, isn't he? He's the one that's going to go and do the interview and say all the stuff. You know, we failed, I failed. And all the fans are going to go, ha, Cadian washed. Now, you're getting all the hate because you sent the Steyr guy and you didn't do it. So, again, grass is always greener. Grass is always... Right, come on, boys.
I think one last thing to touch on that is
go
also
on,
like...
Go for it.
Blame F. He was not always an in-game leader, right? So And the thing is, you need a certain...
Oh, shall I tell you a detail that'll actually blow your mind? This will make both of you literally cringe inside knowing what's happened. In the HLTV interview I referred to, that Blame F did, he says that he was asked to be IGL. Guys, he didn't even want to do this role.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Astralis came to him and just said, like, essentially,
thing, right?
as far as I can tell, to kick Glaive, they were like, could you IGL? And he was like, yeah. That's the worst shit ever. I want to hear on this project. No, I wanted to listen. I have an idea. I've got a plan for how this is going to work. If you bring me stuff, that's what you want to hear from Blame F, don't you? Like, if it's really the case that he's just doing it because, like, he's a nice guy, that's terrible. You can see why that makes you cringe already, knowing that info if it's true.
But I also think like I remember I played with Glaive when he was 14 years old.
Okay.
14 years old, and I could feel this guy was special. Like. He was 14.
He was so sick, he actually used to pull out a little like notebook and he used to write, and some of those strats he only used now. That's how fucking dope he was. It was like the Death Note. Nah,
but like back then, like I was thinking leader back then, right? And I was like really, right?
Sure.
And I was playing with him and MSL. He was also there, and Glaive would just take over sometimes. Alan, we're gonna do this. I'd be like, oh, okay. So you could just feel like he has this natural leadership instinct. Right. MSL was the same. MSL was exactly the same. Like he also have this natural thing coming to him, right? Where other players I have played with, they didn't have, right? And I think Kerrigan, when I played with him, he was what? I think he's been like 14 as well. He didn't have that, but he grew into it, right? It took him a long time to become this great Incan leader, in my opinion. But he also nailed it.
By the way, someone make the graphic right now. I know there's someone out there who's better than me at making memes. Make the Master Splinter meme with Rejin, and then it's like Glaive, MSL, Kerrigan, and then he's older. And then
with all this.
True, you did.
I also play with Snappy as well, actually.
Right, there you go. There's the meme. Make it.
That's the 5-4.
Yes.
No, but my point is that if you don't have this natural leadership, right, you are gonna have a hard time leading the team, right? Now, when I joined TSM, I had the same question with Valde. Do you want to in-game lead, or did you get pushed to do it? And he said, I want to do it.
Yes.
I want to be in-game leading, right? And you can feel it on him. The way he's talking, he's I like to like this soldier reference. Like he's commanding, assertive, and he just know what he wants. And every time something goes wrong, he's the first guy to say, my bad, guys. You know what? Come on, we got this. Like we lost to some ridiculous apps pop, full Glock, no armor, nothing, right? And the first thing he said was like, guys, it doesn't matter. I should have called something differently, a CT side, even though he was on B side and had nothing to do with what happened. He just took it all in on his shoulders, and we carried on, and we went 13-3, even losing that round. And it's just like, okay, that's a leader. Like Astralis, go get Valde. Like if you want a leader, right?
Yes.
Get Glaive, get Kerrigan. Like, but get a leader, right? That's what this team needs, in my opinion. Now, again, I don't know Blame personally, so maybe he is that, but it doesn't look like it.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.